Okay, let's start with introducing yourself. Can you start there?
So, can you all hear me?
Yes.
My name is Thandokazi. Like I've said, I am Maseti. I am a Xhosa young lady. So my home is in Engcobo in the Eastern Cape. If you are familiar with Queenstown and Mthatha, I'm just in between there, like a very big town, Engcobo. That was a joke, guys. It's not big. It's not big.
No, I was even thinking in my head, like, how is that big?
You know a town is small if I have to say between Mthatha and Queenstown. Then you know that it's small. I grew up in Cape Town, in the Cape Flats, in Delft. I did most of my schooling there. I grew up in a Christian home. I'm a child of God. I'm saved. I love the Lord. I'm blood washed, tongue speaking, fire. Yay. Jonga. So I grew up in a Christian home. My parents were pastors. I'm a pastor's kid. And I never thought I would go to university, which is very funny. I don't think I never thought I would go to university more than the school was modeled for me. So I'm a product of teachers. So I'm always moved because my whole family, my brother is a teacher, my sister, my aunt, my mom, my dad, and I thought I wouldn't be a teacher, and I've ended up doing teaching. So it's like it's come full circle. Well, not like I'm lecturing, but I like to think of myself as a teacher in a university. So I don't think I ever struggled thinking, who am I going to be? What am I going to do? Because I had a very hands-on father. My dad literally took me to apply, sat with me in those queues and spoke with the faculty officers until I was enrolled. I enrolled very late into psychology. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just wanted to pass matric. And he was shocked because I'm also from a very big family. He was shocked when he learned that I didn't apply. It was like, no child of mine is not going to school. So he takes me and we apply in January. And then I got into a Bachelor of Arts at the University of Western Cape in Cape Town. And I didn't know what it is. I didn't know what this was about. But the faculty officer, who I always think was like a godsend, was just like, I think you would be well to do psychology. So a Bachelor of Arts is also like a very weird course because it's like a Bachelor of Social Sciences.
Yes,
you can be literally anything. I studied with you guys, people of HR, people of social work, and it's like just a basic degree, right? And then you have to prove yourself. Like you have to get like all the A's, and be exceptional. And I didn't even think that was me. Like I was always... because I was in I don't know what you call, like in the Cape Flats, I don't know if it's quintile 1 or quintile 3, but like the poorest. Yeah, so like probably 2 because Cape Town, right? Like a township in Cape Town. And because also my dad was my teacher, I was not exercising everything in me. Like I was not fully myself. I was just like a teacher's child. And like when your parents are teachers, you move with a certain privilege.
Yes.
Like you are Miss Know It All. You can speak English, but you don't know things. It's like so it was just really wishy-washy, and then I got born again. So for me, like a turning point is moving outside of my family's home and outside of my dad's shadow, and that turned in our relationship because my dad was just like a shadow. It was like he's at church, he's at school, he's at home, he's everywhere. And I felt so safe around him. But I think it's good, very good, like psychologists will tell you. But I did feel like I didn't have to do anything because he's around.
He's around, yeah.
And it annoyed him a lot because I think he could see that I have a very strong personality. So he pushed me to leave home, to stay at res, even though like my school was not far from home. I stayed in res and I was like serious in my walk with Christ. And while I was attempting to like do well as a child of God, like learn the Bible, because I grew up in church and I'm realizing I didn't have a relationship with God. I meet a God who tells me that I want you to excel in your academics. And it was not my dad. literally it was God. A resi, a quick bake, residence. I was on the floor and he literally said that. And I was like, okay, if you will help me, yes. So from there on, like, I did like a 180. I became like a straight A student. I was getting the bursaries. I was in the dean's list. I was just like pushing. And then like I was developing a certain identity. But oh, okay, I am I can be the smart one,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And I was just like fully leaning into who I am. I don't know why I didn't plan to tell you all of this, but like I think that really speaks to even the person that I am now, and I hope it like gives you a picture of who I am.
Yeah.
So academics then became a big thing for me. So I got into university first year, and the time I left, I had a master's degree. So I didn't take breaks. I didn't go and study. I just told my dad at honors that I want to do masters, and it might take me 2 years.
Sure.
And he was like, I'm not sure, because you know, like parents, it's like maybe you need a bit of life experience. And I just had to tell him. I had to tell him that with psychology it's different. To be a psychologist, a master's degree is your minimum. So as soon as he heard that, he was like, okay, go. Just get your own money. So I had to get my own finance. I had to get my brother to support me, like with like day to day. And it was just like, I'm here, but you've got yourself. So then that was that. And then I moved into research, and one day I applied for a job and I got into teaching at Vets at first, and then I moved to UJ. And like I was saying, like it was like just a full circle moment for me to be in an industry that, as much as, you know, like Mama will know that you are an academic, so you are taught to be a researcher and a scholar more than they train you to be a teacher. You are always reminded you are not a teacher, you're not a teacher. But for me, I think in terms of purpose, like it became, okay, this is where God wants me to be, right? And I guess also that legacy of just being from a family of teachers, you know. So that's me.
Yeah, you need to say more. I think on your questions there, I'm not gonna I need to read.
Sure.
Because I need to ask, because it's more of the psychological part that I don't want us to miss that. I want us to be very clear, because, you know, I did say that we'll use words like I'm triggered and stuff, and which is the wrong word. So I want to be careful around the psychologist. So, but the first question that I wanted to ask is, what are the things that you can, that one can learn about themselves to prevent, like maybe your depression, or maybe not say depression, but to prevent that going deep. Yeah.
So, let me not even look at notes so that I can be honest. So what you can, so you can't prevent depression.
Okay.
I'm looking at Rion.
It's good to know. It's true.
You can't prevent it. You can build up resilience so that when life happens, you don't break. So it's like,
that's a good one,
right?
Yeah.
So you can build muscle. You can build resilience. You can build yourself up such that when life storms come at you, you remain standing. So the thing about psychopathology, so when I say psychopathology, I mean every psychological disorder, every psychological illness. And I'm gonna sound very different to Rion because I'm not in practice. Like I'm teaching psychologists and I'm training psychologists. So every psychopathology, the underlying or the main thing underlying psychological disorders is stress and trauma. Now you come to a country like South Africa and you tell me stress and trauma is what will make you sensitive to the development of a psychological disorder such as depression. What you are telling me is that we are all doomed. You are telling me that we are, yes. Okay. So because of colonialism and coloniality, which is still prevalent, because of apartheid and the effects of apartheid, because of patriarchy, the fact that as a woman, you are always questioning yourself, your self-esteem, all of that, because you live in a world where people think you are not sufficient based on your genitalia, right? All of that, you are born into a world that has guaranteed that you will cripple and you will not make it, right? So the first for me is know that, because when you know that, you move differently. So the fact that I am in a space where only 5%. I recently learned, and it's sad to like say recently this because I'm supposed to know, right? 6% of of South Africa's population has a degree. 6%. But because your friends that you went to varsity with are your club, you think everyone has a degree.
Oh, yes.
So because everyone drives a BMW, drives a big car, lives in 4 ways, that's your community. That's the 1% that you have. But if you look broader, like the problems in this country are probleming. They are big. And you need to walk around knowing that I live in a world where every space I get into, I have to be intentional about how I move. So when you get into university, you must know that I'm going to buckle up. Because if I don't, then I'm going to die. And it's the same thing with mental health. If you are born into a family where your mom and your dad are not together, that's a traumatic thing. You are not supposed to be born into a place where you are not supported by both parents, or where you are not loved, you are not nurtured, your dream, you're not validated. So if you recognize that as a trauma, what you are doing is you're not pathologizing yourself or whatever. You are saying, I'm aware that Thandokazi, I walk around in this world with a wound. And people with wounds don't walk running and bumping into stuff. They walk accordingly.
Sure.
So if you think about, I had a failed marriage, I had a child that died, my parents didn't say nice things to me, my boyfriend left me in the altar, wara.
Yeah.
And you treat these things like your physical wounds. If you have a physical wound, you don't walk like us. You are sitting with one bum. But we might think, she's not happy. Can't you know? I am taking care of this wound. Because if I don't take care of the wound, then I'm going to infect the entire body.
Yeah.
So part of you taking care of your wound is you expose the wound. You clean the wound. What happens when you're cleaning the wound? It's painful. So if you're not willing to go back and say, what happened to me? Why did my mother speak like this to me and not like this to you? And I can sit here and tell you story after story after story. I can tell you about colorism, growing up fat, growing up dark skin, growing up with small, like there's a lot of things that will build up and destroy you as a person. So the first thing is be aware. Be aware that, look, some people grow up in homes where they were told, I love you. And it's not all trauma. So the fact that I grew up with a very present father, I can easily be naive around men because I think men are well-intending, right? So it's either that, or because my dad was always cautioning me against men, when I'm around men, I'm very guarded up because I'm like, hey, So all of those things, they can build up and they can hurt you. So the most important thing, self-awareness. Know that there's a wound here, and because there's a wound, I can't walk nakanjan. Know that because there's a wound here, I need to expose the wound and clean the wound. So you don't sit and say, I'm not going to go to therapy. You go and you speak to a Rion. I'm not sure if this thing is impacting the way I see people, relationships, whatever. But there's something that's not normal that happened to me. And that thing may be affecting how I'm making friendships, how I'm moving in relationships, my ideas around the workplace, your insecurities around beauty, yourself, just the world. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
Self-awareness.
This one, I think it's good that we are ending with this one because there is so much, there's a lot to take on, because self-awareness, that wound, because we walk with these wounds and we're thinking, and we don't feel it's very important to see the Rions. I'm coming. The next question, like I said, I'll be reading out. No? What are the traits you learned that are influenced by a psychologist that you think really works for a mental health? Like, what are the traits that you have learned as that are influenced by a psychologist. So the traits that are influenced by a psychologist that
By me going to psychology,
Yes.
to therapy.
yeah.
Okay.
What are the
So
traits?
good things.
Yes, that you have learned that are influenced by a psychologist, or you being a psychologist, that you think really works for mental health. Yes.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna be honest because I've already started speaking about the wound. So my wound was that my mother passed when I was 13 years old, and that's why my dad was like, he's like my guy. So my mother passed, my dad remarried, and there's a whole story there. You know, one day you're going to hear me speak about it, but not today. So the wound then is that you grow up without the parent that looks like you.
Yes.
You are raised by this person that is treated like, my dad like wanted me to, if he could have taught me how to fix cars and stuff. And because I was like that strong girl, like I've got a sister, my sister is like just a pretty nice girl, which like now we are trying to do this because now I'm learning to be more soft. She's learning to like fix bulbs, start fires and all of that. But growing up, she was like just the girl, and I was just like hardcore, you know. So the wound is that. But I didn't know it was a wound because I'm a child, and immediately from my mom passes, my dad remarries because church, and then I'm in a blended family. I grew up in a blended family. You're not thinking at 16, oh my gosh, a wound, right?
Yeah.
I enrolled into psychology. First year of psychology is like introduction to psychology. You know, it's like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Second year, things get real because the thing about my walk with Christ and your walk with Christ is that Uyesu will make you look at yourself. Like there's no gazing at Jesus and not seeing you.
Yeah.
So the more I sought the Lord, the more I found the faults in me.
You really need to say that again.
The more I sought the Lord, the more I saw myself. And the posture there is, I am seeking the Lord, and I'm like, I'm in awe of this God who's perfect. And then I'm like, I am not perfect, right? And then his grace then pulls me when I want to run away. He's like, no, come, let's work at it. So then, like, I'm this 19-year-old who's learning, but I'm better. I'm learning that I am better. Not only I actually hate my dad. Like I despise my dad.
Yeah.
Like not despise. I resented my dad. Sorry. I resented him for the decisions he made that influenced us. And now he's not just my father and my father in the Lord. He's my brother in Christ. So then the Holy Spirit is like, then you need to address it if you're going to walk right with me. I packed up my bags, I went home, and I said, I resent you for the decisions you made that influenced us. Shut the door, we had the conversation. And that then became like a turning point in our relationship. My dad, who's now late, was my best friend. And I always say, amongst all of my siblings, I got the best of him because I was willing to be that vulnerable. Because it's not easy. It is difficult. He might reject you for saying that. So it's not something you can't just walk in and just be like, I resent you, you know, because also he's a Xhosa man. But I had received that grace from the Lord. Bana, you are so bitter, you will not be able to walk with me and be genuine, because now I can say I know how to be gentle, I know how to let people in, I know how to love truly, and I know how to set boundaries. Like I know how to set healthy boundaries, but I know who people are in my life. I know, Bana, I know how to prioritize people without making them feel small. I know that when I'm looking at Thandokazi, I love Thandokazi with all of my heart. But I'm able to love Asematle, who's my little sister, in the same way without feeling the need, but this one is no. Like I feel no guilt with the love I have for a friend and the love I have for my sister. So boundaries. So I learned all of that. So that for me, the whole psychology thing had to walk with Christ. And so through the work that the Holy Spirit was doing, it was like really self-awareness. And then because I'm learning the tools, I knew that if I want to heal the trauma, I have to speak about it. And not everyone in my family is going to be willing for me to go and say, I resent you. Yeah, you did. So I had to go and speak to a trained professional. So thankfully, I'm in a psychology department, I'm in a university, and there's always these psychological services. So I started my journey of going to therapy. But it was not like I'm there for 6 weeks every year, but every once in a while I did like a check-in, just like how you do a physical check-up. But is the ear the right? Are the eyes? Is this? So I went and like, okay, this is what happened to me. This is who I am. And then like as you talk, as Orion was saying, sometimes how your therapist will then probe things into your relationships, and then they'll be like, okay, why are you guarded in this area? Like, oh, okay, before people leave me, I want to leave first because my mom left. That I'm just making an example, right? So that could speak to your attachment issues. That okay, maybe you've got issues with attachment. You have a very insecure attachment style. It makes you clingy. It means abe detached to people. Omunye, like they just want to always be around people. Omunye, they want to isolate. All of those things I was learning in class, but I was doing the actual work on my own. And then when my siblings were ready, which was probably 10 years after my mom had passed, then I was like, actually, these are the things that I struggled with. These are the things I said to my dad. These are the things that I'm you know, and then we connected in that way, because then they're like, you know, I never had the language for this, but maybe I also need to go and like do my own check up. So those are some of the things, but self-awareness.
Yeah, I think for me is the seeing a therapist. I've never seen one. I'm like, doctor, and the thing is, we always think that because you are fine. I'm laughing most with people. I love people. Like, why do I need to see? But I think that is very important that I need to book it. You'll refer me. She doesn't want to see me,
which is good.
I know.
She's protecting that friendship.
I want you to be you.
No, please refer. I need one. I will give you feedback. I have all you guys your numbers. I will give you feedback. The next question is, how can one cope with stress or minimize it? How do we cope with stress, or how do you minimize it?
Okay. So I think let me like finish a point on resilience, because that's linked to trauma and stress. So the more you encounter stuff, the more you build up, depending on how you responded. So for instance, if I lose a parent at age 13 and then I lose a parent at age 30, if I'm functioning well, I'm supposed to respond differently.
Okay.
So there must be evidence that the fact that I went for a run last week and I'm going for a run now, I'm not gonna huff and puff the same way. So it's like it's the same thing psychologically. When you lose a job the first time, you speak with someone and you learn, you get tools. But you need to speak up. You need to be mindful. You need to do this and that. You are building muscle. So that's resilience. You're building muscle. The next storm that comes, you are supposed to be reacting differently. If you are not, then it means you still need to do the work. Right?
Okay.
So I think resilience then is the first thing. Don't shy away from things that are difficult. Because the thing about, like there are people who will not date who are I can be alone. I can be happy. And when I say I can be alone, I don't mean like just mjolo, but like I know how to be with myself. But I also know that's not God's plan for my life. So you can be like a chronologically monolithic single. You can be a person who does things on their own, and you think, I'm so good. But what that does is it means you have disinfected your space. Your space is disinfected. A small bug comes in, your immune system can't handle it. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
There's a reason why children are not living in a cubicle. There's a reason why they have to touch dirt, they have to get flu, they get a virus so that it immunizes them, so that when another virus hits, then it does not kill them. If you don't immunize a person, because if you are immunized, I get to that's what you're doing. You are literally putting the thing that could kill you, so that it's comfortable in your body, so that when it comes again, it doesn't kill you. So what we do psychologically is that I've been hurt by one boy at age 20, I'm going to stay off men for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And then one day you decide, Bana, you know what, I want to get married now, I'm 35. You've not opened yourself to friendships. You don't even have guy friends who are able to tell you, Bana, sis, no man is going to tolerate a woman like you because A, B, C, and D. So when you are in this disinfected space and the person comes, and there's nothing wrong with that person, but then they come and when you can't cope with things that are normal because to you, they will kill you.
Yeah.
I'll call immunized.
Sure.
So you stay off friendships because every friend is toxic. Everyone hurts me. You go to a job, they do one thing, you are out. You go to a church, they do one thing, you are out. And you think, I'm a healthy person, I know how to cut off. No, you need to be able to stand with people that despise you. You need to learn to build mass. You need to be able to walk around people that don't like you and still be your true self. And not be pretending. That's growth. And that's traumatic growth too. You can't leave every marriage. You can't kill. What are you going to do to your in-laws? You see? What are you going to do to your in-laws? Because you love this man, you love the family, and they are not going to change. So sometimes that's what we do. You don't go home because bayang trigger. You need to. Now we're going to December. And I've been doing all of this work. Hey, I'm praying. I'm going to therapy. And then there's that one brother who has, in the past year, the car is broken, the money was stolen, all of those things. Now I'm going to do practicals.
Yeah.
So, but are you really sober enough to be gentle with people that are not deserving of your gentleness? Are you truly good? Have you truly resolved all of these traumas? Or maufike kaya haike, finish with like everything you've been working on, then you just fall apart. It's not supposed to be like that. Expose yourself to things that are uncomfortable, and sometimes it's your family.
Yeah. Yeah, the exposing part, I think. Yeah. Whew, Jehovah. Like as if I'm in therapy.
You are in therapy.
Yeah. Yeah. The second last question. Do you feel that our support system influence our behavior? Or we just do not care? Like our behavior, I mean like the bad behavior now. Are we influenced because of our support system or because of the people that are around us? Are they influencing our bad behavior? Or is it us who just do not change? We just
bad.
Yes, we just bad.
Okay. So I'm not going to deviate from the word. The word does say that bad company corrupts good character.
Yes.
So absolutely.
Yeah.
So in psychology, psychologists love twin studies. So twin studies, it's when they take people with like twins. And they take this one twin and they move the twin to Switzerland. The other one is in South Africa. Okay. The one in South Africa is living in a shack. The mother works at Checkers. The father is a security guard. They are living on grandmother's pension as another income. Yeah. The house is full. The other twin is in Switzerland. The weather, climate is completely different. They go to a good school, all of that. Yeah. And they are always trying to check. If people were born, if you have the same... Because brain, your brain make up your chemical, make up your hormonal, all of that. Does it mean that you are going to be different? And there's a lot of evidence that says more than what you are born into, more than how you are born as, what you are born into matters. So your environment at times can overcome how you were born.
Yes.
And this should calm us. If you are born through a parent who had a mental disorder, because a lot of us, we don't even know. You don't know that your mother had postpartum depression because they didn't call it postpartum depression. Yeah. So there could be a susceptibility to that. You could be predisposed to developing that thing. Okay. But what this says is that not necessarily. It says the environment plays a big role. So then to come back to your question, absolutely. So the spaces that you are going into, the people that you go to, they absolutely matter. But we're not the same. We could go to the same job, sit in the same position, be tormented by the same boss, your response will be different from mine.
Yes. Yeah.
Because when you are married, you come home, you tell your husband, I'm not married, for an example. I'm not married. I need you to get it. and while when you get home and you debrief, I don't debrief. So now by the time I go to work on Tuesday, I am on 80% done with this man who's our boss. When you've spoken to someone has told you, you know what, baby?
It's gonna be
Fine. You've got this. So the tools that you are using will determine how you are going to resolve issues. So what we do in friendships at times is, you know that this person is not good for you, because when you are still working on your self-esteem, you are working on your walk with Christ, you have traumatic things, and this person triggers you in a certain way, and you don't have capacity to even be building yourself up, doing that work. Instead of walking away, you stay, they consume you. So I'm not really answering you, because I'm saying that it could go either or. I'm saying that biologically you're not supposed to. So biologically we should be able to survive, but nature will. So my friends, the places I go, if I'm constantly with people who are negative, it will eat on my soul, right? But the tools that are within me that I am using will determine if I can handle this, because there's a reason why we're all in the same traffic, but we're reacting differently to the traffic. The other one didn't have coffee, the other one has anger issues, the other one was just fighting with their child. We're not the same, right? We're using different tools.